Hey Change 4, we're ready to start with Math, section 9-10 on page 310. So this lesson is on double line graphs, and this really just builds on what you did yesterday with line graphs. We're just going to add a second line onto the graph. So let's take a look. On page 310, at the top of the page, they give us a data chart. It's called Stock at Sam's Shirts. So they give us months, January through September. They give us data for how many shirts they sold each month, t-shirts that is, and then data for how many sweatshirts they sold each month. So we need to set up our line graph very similar to what we did yesterday. So we've got our graph here. We need to put our months along the bottom, along the horizontal. Again, we're going January through September. So we'll just label those. With the first letter of each month. Then let's take a close look at the data table. The lowest number that we have on the data table is 175, and the highest number is 500. So we can do a little graph tear, even though they didn't on page 310. I still think it's a good idea. So let's go ahead and build in our little tear there. And then I think an interval of 50 would be good. So let's start with 150. Since our first data point is at 175. So we'll go 150, 200, again, counting by 50s, all the way up to 500. Okay, and then we're going to graph our first line using the data for t-shirts. So January was 275. So we go over to January and up in between 250 and 300, right there in the middle would be 275. Then 375 for February. So I'll plot my point there. March was 350, so above March, I'm going with 350. April was 450. May was 410. June was 400. July was 350. August was 300. And September was 500. Okay, then of course I'm going to use line segments to connect those points as best can, since I'm just using the dry erase board. Okay, so you can see what the data looks like there as far as how it increased and decreased. Then we're going to do the very same thing with the data for sweatshirts. Go back to that data table in January. 225 was the sale for January. So we're going to put that right there. And a different color can be helpful so that you can see the two different lines with ease. February was 175. March was 200. April was 250. May was 310. June was 300. July was 250. August was 175. And September was 260. Okay, again, connecting the dots as best you can with line points. If you can use a ruler to do that, that's great. Not so easy to do here on my dry erase board. Okay, so then you'll be able to compare and draw conclusions about what happened with the data. You'll also need a title. You could use the title from the chart, the data chart, Stock at Sam's Shirts. or you could say sales at Sam's Shirts. Okay. Remember that you also want to do a title for your horizontal and your vertical axis. So of course this would be months. And then this would be the number in stock is how the book describes it. For the line graph. So again, then you'll just have questions that you'll need to answer. You were completing 1 to 15 odd on 310 and 311. And so again, that asks you questions 1 through 5 for the graph that we just made and just replicated. It's also in your book. And then 6 through 9 talks about the graph at the top of 311. And then you've also got to make some graphs for 10 and 11 to help you answer 11 through 15. There, remember, it is only the odd questions. And then you've got workbook page 115 as well, which has very similar questions and similar tasks for making double line graphs. I hope this was helpful. Email me if you've got any questions. Have a great day.